This is hers, so you gotta.
Good afternoon, everyone.
You talking about me?
All right, just looking to see who's here. We got our first presenters at least. I see at least one other committee member. Hello, President Yarborough. Okay, I think we have critical mass to get started. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Another fabulous edition of the Finance and Operations Committee for Monday, August 18. We will start with the information-only items. Are there any comments or questions related to any of those? I had none either, so hearing and seeing none, we will jump into the agreements. So the first one, 3.1, is agreement with Cornell Scott Health Center. Dr. Robles?
The first agreement is with Head Start.
Oh, I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. My bad.
Not a problem.
Your one.
So this is an agreement with Cornell Scott Hill Health Center for $150,000 to support the school-based health clinic at the Dr. Mayo School. The fully funded enrollment of Head Start is 438 students, and they support immunizations, physicals, and sick child visits, as well as dental screenings and exams by a hygienist and a licensed dentist. This supports the health component of the Head Start program performance standards.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions on this? I had none either. So thank you very much. We'll jump to 3.2, agreement with Rise Network. And I see Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Wilcox. So yes, this is an agreement with the RISE network. It's strategically placed to work on the district goal of increasing ninth grade success at our two largest high schools, Wilbur Cross and Hill House, with the RISE network, which has already done some really good work in the district along that. Specifically here, this is to join a network of schools that are focused on freshman success and particularly take advantage of a new program, which is called an on-track mentoring program, which is hiring recent college graduates to come in and work with cohorts of students who we notice are struggling to make the number of credits they need to be successfully promoted to the 10th grade. We see a lot of strength in both Hill House and Cross right now. A lot of work's being done already on the ninth grade, but we know that if we're going to get to the 5-year plan goal of 94% success rate, we're going to need to see a lot of progress there. And we feel like this is a really good partner to help us do that. I don't know if Dr. Billy is on the call here yet. Is he there? No. So Hill House is currently doing some work with the RISE network. They've been pleased with it. We're looking to join that work and also expand it with these on-track mentors. And then the next go around, we'd also like to talk about at the next meeting some possibility of using some data tools from them.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions related to this? All right. Wait, I think oh, there you are. Thought I lost you on my screen, Dr. Yarborough. But I see you now. You moved. Your Hollywood Square box moved on me. Any comments or questions related to this? Hearing none, see none. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. And we will move to item 3.3, which is an agreement with Excel Academy. Ms. Natalino?
So I will, one
Okay.
second. So I will present for Ms. Natalino tonight. This is part of our Career Connected Pathways. Excel Academy is one of our partners that provide CNA training for our high school students at Hill House Career and Wilbur Cross.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on 3.3?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have my volume up. I'm sorry.
No, we heard you.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know if there were any questions.
Yeah. I believe there are no questions, so thank you very much. Item 3.2, an agreement with Edmentum. Ms. Joyner?
I'll take that one as well. On the Edmentum contract, this is a new contract for us. One of the things as we look at personalized learning experiences for our students, we often think of the K-8 setting. This moves us into the 9-12 setting for mathematics. And so Edmentum is a partner that would provide some tier 2 intervention supports for our students as they're navigating math in the high school, at the high school level, as well as some assessments as we're looking at being data-driven and ensuring that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. So this is a new partnership with Edmentum. Edmentum was previously provided by the state to several school districts for free, but they're no longer offering it for free.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions on this item? I had none either, so thank you very much. 3.5 is an agreement with NWEA MAP. So Dr. Swingler or Miss Novelli? Let's see.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. We put this forward as NWEA MAP is our overarching assessment that we give 3 times a year in grades 3 through 10 to both measure student achievement and student growth in the areas of literacy. The assessment measures both work within vocabulary, informational texts, and literary texts, and provides teachers actionable feedback on student performance so that they may tailor their individual goals for students. It provides us multiple reports on how to track student progress and also focus on student growth.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions related to this item? Dr. Yarborough.
Yes, just a question about the timeline, because it says pending receipt of funds in terms of when you would want to offer the assessments um, or implement this and when you would receive confirmation about funding.
So we plan to implement this fall as we did last year. This would be our second year of using this assessment.
Okay, and when is funding uh, guaranteed for this?
Give me one sec. Are we using Alliance funds, Dr. Swingler? I didn't pull the
Yes.
contract up. Um,
Yes.
so it's whenever our state funding is released. I don't know if someone else on the call knows precisely when we should receive our Alliance funds, but this assessment is given in September of the calendar year. So in the very beginning of the calendar year.
Okay, and the funds, like the state is, or the funds have already been approved for our district,
Yes,
meaning committed to our district?
yes, these are our Alliance funds.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to 3.6, an agreement with ACES. Ms. Jackson?
Yep, this is an agreement that we have with ACES to provide behavioral services primarily for our specialized classrooms servicing students with autism spectrum disorders, but they also provide a service within the district for some more of our complex cases where we require some more behavioral analysis with their professional expertise, and they provide some professional development for us as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments or questions on this? All right, I had none either. Thank you. 3.7, an agreement with Latoya Robinson. Ms. Berlante?
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Yes, this is with LTR Unlimited Corp, Latoya Robinson. Um, sorry, I see a hand up. Are we good? Should I keep going?
Attorney Alexiadis? Do you have something on the last item, or did you want to add to this item when she's finished with the?
I would like to add to this item when
All right, thank you.
she's finished with the presentation. I did not intend to interrupt by raising my hand.
Okay, so sorry.
And actually, I mean, now that I'm talking, it's very
Sure.
short. The documentation is correct. The agenda item, the caption on the agenda item is not correct. It's not an agreement with Latoya Robinson DBA. It's an agreement with the corporation.
Correct.
So the documentation is correct. It's got nothing to do with the substance, but the way it's phrased in the agenda is incorrect. So when it's approved, it should be approved in the name of the corporation, not in the individual name. That's all.
Okay. And the actual approval of this would happen at the full board meeting next week. So it should be corrected for that agenda. But
Yes.
substantively, it's the same in terms of the paperwork and everything. But we can note that correction when I make the motion.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I had to say about it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. This is an agreement with LTR Unlimited Corp. There's a few pieces to this. One includes a professional learning series, which is going to be a real critical inquiry on trauma, on system inequity, on schools being places that hopefully are not perpetuating further trauma, but also being in spaces of healing. It's going to be deployed to 4 teams within the school, including the Triple ST, the 9th grade team, the 10th grade team, and the leadership team. This contract also is going to include a professional learning series that is a book study drop-in for teachers, also providing direct trauma services for students, and also providing an integrated capstone experience for seniors in our education and leadership pathway. And that capstone experience is really focused on applied theater for educators is in the education and leadership pathway. So that's it in a nutshell.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions from the committee on this or anybody else? need to weigh in? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll go on to 3.8, which is Bilingual Special Education Services of Connecticut. Ms. Jackson?
Yes, this is a contract that we have in order for us to be able to help with doing some of our psycho evaluations in Spanish for a large Spanish-speaking population. It allows for those evaluations to be administered in the student's first language, as we have a small number of bilingual evaluators.
All right, thank you. Attorney Alexiadis, is your hand up from last time or for this time as well?
It's from last time.
Okay.
Get to lower it. Thank you.
Now, sometimes they persist, sometimes they turn themselves off. So just wanted to be sure. Any other comments or questions related to this item? I had none either. So thank you for that. 3.9, agreement with Yale New Haven Health Center for EMS courses. Ms. Natalino or
Good afternoon, everyone. My apologies. Thank you, Ms. Hannons, for presenting on the last one for CNA. EMT, this is our third year going into a partnership with the Yale New Haven Hospital Center for EMS. We will have students from Cross Hill House and Career in this program this year. We have very solid data, which was shared in the agreement. Students are finding success and the buzz is going. We have more and more students interested in joining this program. So are there questions?
yes, questions or comments related to this? I'll just say thank you for including the data on how many students went through it last year and the success rates and things like that. That's always great to see. There's such great pathways into actual employment and money in addition to opening up these careers for further degree programs and so on. These are great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox.
Seeing nothing else on this, we'll go to 3.10, which is with Advanced Office for desktop support. So Mr. Simeone or Dr. White?
Yes, I could take this. These are the technical resources that we use to go out to the schools to assist in setting up the PCs, the Chromebooks, also doing some elementary type of wiring and network support for the schools. We've used them for a number of years. We're also this year trying to reduce our dependency on outside technical consultants, because over the past year or so, we've implemented some tools that we're in the process of using this school year to help reduce the number of resources that we get from AOS. So we're hoping that we'll be able to reduce the 516,000, reduce it by 150,000 by the end of this fiscal year.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions on this? All right, I had none either, so thank you very much. We'll move on. 3.11 is an agreement with Perkins Eastman Architects. Dr. White?
Yes, this is continued use of services with Perkins Eastman. We've used them before to do some of our facilities master planning in the past year and doing some of our modeling and test fitting that helped us with the merger of schools. Now we're continuing to use the services where we'll be doing more modeling around conditions of buildings, coming up with what are the best, where we should be prioritizing investments for repair, and where we can look at other, if we were to ever go to additional consolidations, but really laying out the plan for how we should be investing over the next decade.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions on this? Dr. Yarbrough?
Thank you. And just to confirm, this is my understanding that this now, the request will be for them to do something district-wide, and it'll come back with a district-wide master plan And are we leaving anything out of this request for them that we may need to have done in the future, or is this pretty much cover uh, their kind of scope of what they provide and what we would ask them for,
At this
please?
time, it does cover everything we were asking for, everything we're looking for to build out what we do in the future.
Great, thank you.
Okay, clarifying question then. So will there be like will we have the 10-year plan after this, or are we having the 10-year plan but done in parts? So you're muted.
Part of it will be done, but also it's a combination of looking at, once we have all the materials, it's not totally for them to make the complete plan. Part of it is us convening community meetings, focus groups to look at the data so that it is an informed decision across this. That's not, we're not in a space where a vendor is handing us the solution.
I see. That makes sense to me. Thank you very much. And I just also wanted to have confirmation that they have and they're using the output of the work that we had done with Spiegel's and
That,
Associate. That was primarily
that was
looking at attendance and high level building conditions, not detailed. It was, but
correct. That was one of the artifacts that they used in starting
okay.
out their building of their work and building upon that now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions on this? All right. With that done, we'll move into purchase orders. 4.1 is with Daleen Flooring. Mr. Pagan?
Yes, hello. This is a purchase order for Daleen Flooring to replace damaged carpet in Career High School. The replacement in the auditorium to new carpet tiles, which has been done at other locations at this time.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions? All right, you said carpet tiles. Those are the ones that can be replaced like a tile, like piecemeal,
These
not an entire.
not no, these are LVT luxury vinyl tiles, the long plank ones that
Let's see.
are installed.
Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. All right, thank you.
I
Any
have a
other,
question.
Dr. Yarbrough?
Yeah. Um, is this normal wear and tear for how the damage
These
was done, or is there
This is
another?
end of life. The carpet is at end of life. The piles are down to zero and it's stained beyond repair at this location, so it needs to be replaced.
Okay. Wait a minute. Now, these tiles or are they planks?
No, it's replacing carpet with plank tiles. Like I don't know if you've gone to Cross. Cross has the same renovation done recently and it looks phenomenal. I think I showed you in a video in a presentation recently on how the floor looks.
Yeah. So we're not replacing it with what they had. Okay. And have we done I mean, if it's foot traffic, it's one thing, but in terms of any water damage, I'm not sure what has brought these tiles to end of life, but have we corrected those issues for this building before we do this floor investment?
Well, you're going from carpet to tile, so you're going from something that needs to be treated and absorbed from just going to something that gets mopped up and cleaned up. So you have a hard surface. You're going from a carpet surface to a hard surface that gets cleaned up, which would remove any potential mold conditions and things of that nature.
Right. And thank you. And there are currently no leaks in the roof or pipes that are leaking into this
There are
space.
currently no pipe leaks in the area. Roof leaks are yet to be determined and evaluated and assessed.
Okay. Yeah, it would be good to probably assess that and determine before we invest in new flooring for
Well,
that.
investing in the new flooring would be good even if you do have conditions that present leaks because you can clean it up and maintain the space better. As you know, you have multiple roofs that need replacement throughout the district at this time. And whenever a roof leak presents itself and it's repairable, it gets repaired. But if it's a roof that is at end of life, then that's something different totally.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll be expecting no requests here for floor damage due to roof leaking for this
Correct.
building. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Downer?
So I'm just a little concerned because sometimes when I see the conditions of the school, I can't even like talk about like the cleanliness. I mean, let's talk there. There's been times where the floors are not properly cleaned, which the dirt can get under the adhesive. So if you're replacing, even if you have carpet and the carpets are not being cleaned, then that's actually going to shorten our lifespan. Do you know when this carpet was actually installed?
No, I do not. It predates me.
Okay, and so that's that. The only questionable thing is the fact of how this, who's actually cleaning our schools. Let's face it. We have our unionized folks who have our schools. They do a great job, but then we also had SJ Services who didn't. So when you start talking tiles, and of course these tiles are going to need adhesive. So we're talking about who's going to be monitoring because you got life cycle now, right?
Okay, I'm a little confused on the question of adhesive. What do you mean by that?
So you're putting down tiles, right?
Correct.
You're going from carpet to tile.
Correct.
Are they carpet tiles or are they regular flooring tiles?
They're flooring tiles. They're vinyl commercial tiles.
They don't need adhesive.
Luxury. Adhesive, yes, but adhesive has nothing to do with the finish or the look of it or the cleanliness of it. That's where I'm a little confused.
It has 100% to do with it. What I'm trying to say to you in so many words, that SJ Services did a crappy behind job. So if you're not cleaning these tiles, dirt underneath, they're gonna lift it up and chip. So we don't have that going on. I just want to make sure that this was again like
I don't agree with what you're saying because once the floor.
If you don't agree with me, Mr. Pagan.
No, because I want to explain to you. I'm a little confused
on
what
me off like that. So
Mr. Pagan,
you can't explain while I'm
Mr. Pagan, please let her finish her question.
Mr. Pagan, you're out of line.
Ms. Downer, I'm taking
You're out of line.
Mr. Pagan, please allow her to finish her questions and then respond when she's complete. Thank you.
Throw him completely off. He's new. He's too darn new. So the problem is that we had a situation with SJ Services, particularly, I'll just throw out one school. I'm just wondering if we just replacing tiles every 5 years and carpet. We're getting tile, yes. Luxury, okay. But guess what? There needs to be a maintenance plan on it. So we're just spending $76,000. I'm not even gonna call it off. $70K for floors, and then 2 years later we're gonna be replacing them because somebody's not gonna be cleaning them. So if you can't tell me when the carpet is actually, first of all, you couldn't tell me when the carpet was installed. Probably never checked that. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that we don't want to go down that same path. $70,000 is a lot of money to be spending for flooring.
Ms. Downer, are you done? May I answer?
So I was wondering if someone can tell me when the carpet was installed. So if you can't even tell me when the carpet was installed, and then somebody obviously, Mr. Pagan, really, you need to probably be brief how to speak to a board member. And I wasn't even being disrespectful. So you really owe me an apology for that.
Oh, God.
Yep, Mr. Wilcox, he does. So my thing is this. I want to know when the carpet was installed. I'm asking a legit question. And I still want to know when it was. Because now we got a problem. Because if we installed it 2 years ago, and you can't tell me, I don't know when this carpet was installed. You come up here and you say we're taking carpet to tile. Okay, fine. So when was the carpet installed? Maybe somebody can tell me.
It is, Ms. Downer, it is something we will have to research. But in terms of the general question, one of the things we are transitioning more to tile across the district because it is easier to clean. And as we will be working with a new cleaning service, there will be more specific monitoring of all of the work that has to be done so that one, we can stay at a maintenance standpoint as opposed to a replacement standpoint. The reason for shifting from carpeting to also to the vinyl, in addition to that, is also for better air quality and protection of those in buildings. So this is something that's going to be happening across the district, in our libraries, in all of our carpeted spaces, wherever possible. When it is time for replacements, it is moving in this direction. And then, of course, going to be supported by a proper maintenance plan with the daily cleaning that's required and clear expectations from both day and evening staff.
Well, thank you. And I don't need to hear nothing else on this subject. Do not address me, Mr. Pagan, please. Please do not address me again.
Okay, Ms. Downer. Do you have any other questions related to this item?
No, that's it. I'm done.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to 4.2, which is a purchase order under state contract with Ruotolo Mechanical.
This is Ruotolo Mechanical, and this is to replace the domestic hot water heater at the building for $73,000. It's the removal and disposal of this unit to install a gas-fired domestic hot water for the entire building.
All right, thank you. Are there comments or questions?
Sure is.
Okay, Ms. Downer?
What's the size of the water heater?
It should be in the notes.
And you should answer it. So since you want to be smart, Mr. Pagan, don't vote it tonight.
Ms. Downer, let's please keep this to this. And
do you hear what I'm saying?
Mr. Pagan, could you please check the notes?
Okay, I will check the notes and get back to you.
I found it here. It's replaced with a new Lochinvar SWA 400N 110-gallon heater with necessary piping. And then there's a new Leonard. This is on page 6 of the documentation that was presented to us.
Got it.
Ms. Downer.
I got it. Thank you.
Certainly, there's specifications, things are circled, whole lot of information there that was provided.
Yep, I got it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this item? All right, we'll move on to contracts. 5.1 and 5.2 are the two landscaping contracts held over from our previous, from the full board meeting. So Dr. White, would you talk about these and then we can talk about them individually or combined?
Yes, I'll begin with what was put into the memo about the process of selecting it. It was done through a bid process. First off, no staff or any other vendor knows what goes into the bid other than the bidder themselves. And then these are bids awarded on the lowest price. Now, the procurement awarded it to these two contractors. While there have been concerns about a contractor, one of the things, unfortunately, there has not been documentation. So we are not at a place where we can disbar a vendor at this time. So they have been able, so these were the two that they were awarded to. There was concern related to conflict of interest. Again, as I stated, the bidding is sealed, so it is completely put into the OpenGov system and then awarded as the lowest. So there's no person who can view it beforehand or anyone in the evaluation process who was connected to the bidders. While there is an employee of our vendor who has a relationship to one of these other vendors, that person was not part of the bidding process. One of the big things that we will be doing going forward, as stated in the manual, is about the monitoring process, where we'll be engaging both our custodians in buildings and our principals on the ground to, again, using basic text of pictures of before and after to look at what has been done, to make sure it has been done, and immediately if there's a dispute about an area, if it's not been done satisfactorily, addressing that in time. And as we move forward, this will be noted so that if we have to move towards disbarment of a vendor, we are documenting all along the way. The same way we would document as an employee, this would also be documented in the same way so that then we can submit to the city, the procurement office, the materials to request a disbarment of a vendor. And so right now, these are the two contracts based on bid that have been awarded.
And before I go to questions, I'll just mention that I have already notified people that to address concerns of this committee and also other board members about landscaping and things that we will have on one of the two November F&O meetings. We'll have a review of this monitoring and ask to see the data, because the cover memo does talk about a centralized spreadsheet that's going to be tracking this and weekly checks. And so to address those concerns of members of the committee and others, we will take a look at it then so that we'll be able to confirm that it's being done. So now we'll move to questions. I saw Dr. Yarborough's hand first and then Ms. Downer.
Thank you. And I think, Mr. Wakash, you might have mentioned one of the things I was looking for is to see the performance evaluations that have been happening for the vendor who's a repeat vendor. I believe the other one's a new vendor. Dr. White, I really appreciated just the memo you put together to walk through the tracking, the process of evaluation, how to navigate issues that come forward, and also what that tracking system looks like. As well, it was useful for me to see what are the various schools that are associated with the particular contracts and the number of cuts for that school for the year. So that was very helpful. I do hear your reply or your response in terms of what the procurement process what was in place for this and how the vendors came forward. And so I'll be investigating what happens if the board does not approve the contract for a particular vendor, and then what is that response, what comes next. And I think, to having some evaluation for a vendor that has been part of our district for years is important. There must be notes somewhere. And if they're not notes, that's also important for us moving forward as we implement kind of new oversight and monitoring and how we want things to go. And I'm not sure that our procurement, I'll learn more about our procurement process as I just ask more questions and learn more. But thank you for presenting this.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Downer?
So I just want Attorney Alexiadis, I see him on the, is it possible he can come on mic and explain the disbarment? This is, because I know it's just a motion to disbar this vendor under Robert Rules of Order. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it is a motion. And at what point do we have to make that motion? And then I have other questions also.
He appears to be on a telephone call.
Sorry?
He's on screen. He appears to be on a telephone call. And so I don't know.
Okay, I can come back. Because I know it is a motion. And I remember 2 weeks ago where there was a person, Ms. Barboda, which actually is a relative of Cheapskates. So that's the Barboda family. And she presented the 95 grand contract. She should have reclused herself. She did not. The other thing is this. The last time I was here, I asked, since Cheapskate, and I'm not talking about the green company, so we should keep this separate. So since Cheapskate has already been in our district, I wanted to know what schools had they previously had cut and had contracts to cut over the years they've been here. And I didn't see that come. I know I specifically asked that. And Mr. Wilcox, you actually had actually corrected that. Like, I needed that. And I didn't get that. So I needed to know what schools did Cheapskate actually cut.
I do recall your question.
And I didn't get that. So I'm getting what the price is for each cut, but I know I asked a specific question. So I understand the sealed bid, but I needed to know what schools did they previously cut? Because I too have actually been to some of these schools. So rather than me claim, I know Amazon Landscape is cutting them now. Thank you for that in your memo. But I asked for specifically, what did they cut previously? This is going to be helpful to make a determination.
I will have to look that piece of information up, but I do also want to make one note of the most recent concerns were related to snow removal, not necessarily to the grass cutting, but I will look up what schools, what zones they have been assigned to previously, if they had done cutting before this year.
Yeah, so one of the other things that I'm reading in the Robert Code of Order also is grounds for disbarment includes information indicating a lack of business honesty, integrity, and poor performance. This company has done poor performance and they have no integrity. So I know for sure that we need to be taking a look at that. I mean, just because this is sealed bid, I think we should have got ahead of this. They should have even never been able to bid. And this is why we're having this conversation. So to think that I'm going to let it go, no. If Attorney Alexiata cannot answer it now, maybe he'll answer it at the board meeting. If he's on another call, maybe, bring this to the board again, and I'll be there. So Attorney Alexiata will be able to address it.
Attorney Alexiata?
He got his hand up.
Sorry, I had to take a call in the middle of the meeting. So what's the question?
So the question is to disbar a vendor. That's the question. We talked about this before, and I'm reading in the Robert Code of Order that's
Okay.
a motion.
Okay, excuse me. What are you reading from?
I'm reading from the Robert Code of Order.
Robert's rules. Robert's rules.
Robert Rules of Order. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Robert's rules are that governs meeting procedures.
Okay.
But I think what you're asking concerns the debarment procedures under the City of New Haven purchasing procedures.
Mm-hmm.
We can review that, and advise, but I would suggest that it would be anomalous to debar someone after the bids have been accepted and bids have been made and opened and accepted. It seems to me that that's something that ought to be done in advance of the bids. I think it's anomalous to do it after the fact.
I agree.
I have no opinion on whether this vendor should be debarred, and no opinion on the accuracy of your statements with regard to this particular vendor.
Okay, no, I was looking for guidance. Thank you. I agree that it should happen way before he's allowed to bid. But the other thing is there any kind of escape? Whereas if he doesn't hold up his end of the bargain at any given time, this is probably for the district, that we could actually cancel this contract immediately.
Well, I would say two things. One is that there's different purchasing processes, and for example, we're talking about a sealed bid here, but the request for proposal process, the RFP process, does give the board and the city greater flexibility in terms of accepting the proposals, and so past performance can be a factor. Now, you're asking for is whether a vendor who is accepted and who's under contract, whether that vendor may be terminated for cause. And I mean, the short answer is yes, you can terminate vendors for cause. Our contracts will also typically have no cause termination clauses, so that vendors agreements may be terminated on a certain number of days' notice without any reason for the convenience of the city. I would just note that that sometimes be careful what you wish for situation, because you still need someone to do the work, and that someone and still need to contract with someone, and that has the potential of costing you a lot more if it's done on an emergency basis. But that's a discussion for another day.
Understandable, but someone not doing the work will cost us more either way. So that's the risk you take. So if the person's not doing the work, it's still going to cost us.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. But I strongly advise that we use this. It's just been like, honestly, I mean, like, we're having this conversation this August. Next August, we'll be looking at cheapskate again. I don't think we should be looking at cheapskate on a bid. So I'm just sending that message. Maybe the school system can take a look at it. Yes, we probably have to, but we also have to monitor them. We got to do diligence. We have to. This is a person who's already showed you who they were. They're not cheap. They say they cheapskate, but they're not. And they don't do good work. And that's all I'm saying. These people need to be watched, because we don't have money to be doing all of that. When we start mismanaging this money and not doing it right, having no oversight on it, then guess what? That hits the property owners and everybody else that pay taxes here. So whatever decisions you're going to make sure with this person, next year we're not talking cheapskate did a good job and all this other stuff. Make sure we're watching them like a hawk. So that's all I'm saying. And maybe they should be disbarred. Maybe we should start that process too. How about that? And I'm done.
All right. Thank you.
Else on cheapskate.
Thank you, Ms. Downer. I think my questions were just answered in terms of how we could part company with a vendor that's not performing. And as I mentioned previously, we will add this to one of the November F&O meetings to review the monitoring, to see how things are going, so that hopefully that'll, if nothing else, it'll provide the evidence that proves that there's an issue, which would then make it so it certainly would make it easier for me to vote to disbar somebody if it's obvious at that point that the work's not being done up to district standards. Then that's why we have those clauses in there, and we just need to hold. I agree, we need to hold vendors to a high quality based on the contracted work that we hire them for, and they need to perform, and the district needs to monitor it. So I think we have something here in place with our new chief operating. Can't remember your exact title, Dr. White, but our new COO, basically, to have time to have this monitoring in place and check this, since landscaping is truly important, because this is what people see when they come up to a building. This is what the grounds the kids play on, et cetera. So I agree this is important, and I'm happy to see the monitoring in this memo, and I look forward to hearing a report on this with the data in November. Okay, anything else? I'm sorry, Dr. Yarbrough?
Yeah, thank you. Just thinking about the process for how we get vendors and go through procurement and award, make an award to a vendor. Thinking Dr. White, Mr. Hernandez, to maybe think about when we should switch the process. I think what I understand from this conversation is that the process we chose the award automatically goes to the lowest vendor. But I know that there's another process we used recently for a different scenario, where you take in other things into consideration. It is not just the lowest vendor. And my point being, or my reflection being, it's likely the case that if somebody has been in our district for years, it's easy for them to keep being the lowest vendor. They know what they bid last time, and they can predict or find out what that low number is to say, and it may be hard for competition to get in that area. I don't know if that's true, but I imagine that knowledge might make it true. So I want to make sure, in addition to us having documentation for someone's performance, that if we need to choose a different way to select a vendor, that we put that process in place, if it's legal and if it helps us to make sure we get high quality work for the resources that we invest.
Yes, again, it's continued following our procurement policies as well as the city procurement policies, and also with certain services, there is a commitment from the city to develop the small contract developing program. So again, all of those, and I will work on a memo at some point to kind of a quick trip through our procurement processes and some of the different sources that fall into the different categories of the rules, so that we know where we start from and what our options are.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Wilcox, maybe for like I don't know if this would work, but maybe for like an agenda calendar item, there might be a time to review vendors, and be able to say, is there action we should take on this vendor as it relates to the next time we go through a procurement process, or not? Because usually I think as a committee and then as a board, we get the evaluation once once a vendor is selected, and then we get the evaluation for their performance. But maybe that's information we should see ahead of time. Or if the district takes care of it in-house, then that's fine, and we don't, as a board, need to see it.
I think as a follow-up to, or as an answer to that, I think one thing that would be appropriate or easy for us to do is that we could add to the discussion calendar for February, what's the plans for landscaping contracts for landscaping that'll start July 1. And then we'd be able to know what's the district, the outcome of the conversations with the city around this. Is this going to go back out? Is the intention at least of the district to put it back out as lowest bidder, or to use a different process where quality can be taken into account and not just lowest price? And I would think, based on my experience, we typically are seeing these in like June, because they start in July. So by February, the district should be able to know what they're doing and starting the process of posting or getting ready to post things. So if I can ask you, Ms. DeMayo, to add that to our calendar for maybe the first February meeting, update on the landscaping contract methods.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Downer?
Well, I just wanted to say also, I said maybe we could actually do it on a memo form. I don't think, just for an update, I think we really couldn't do it on a memo form as far as the monitoring, because, Dr. White is here doing it, but we need to start preventing these issues and stop, like I said, coming here. And I don't want to blame the new contractor that's coming in. I'm totally isolating the new contractor right now because of who we have. I'm not, saying that, but I think that even if you give me a memo to show, even though I'm gonna ride by because I got the list already, so I'm gonna be riding by and checking to see what they're doing, and I just don't really can't go by that because I'm just boots on the ground, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So it would behoove them to go ahead and do what they have to do, because I'm not waiting for a next meeting. I will be making those phone calls, because I get the phone calls from the alders and everything else about these schools and their wards, and they look like crap. Obama, I feel so bad for those folks over there. I don't know why they're not complaining. But the bottom line is we got to get ahead of this. We can no longer close our eyes to these vendors that are doing us wrong. So, I mean, the community sees it. We can't just say, oh, we're going to put the blinders on. But I will be watching. All I need is really a memo. If you could actually just, show me how you're documenting whether they sending you, if this is working, because this vendor, like you said, obviously been here for a long time. They know how to drop those bids low and come back with these change orders. This is that type of vendor. They know the system. They've been in it for a long time. So I'm in agreement, but all I need is a memo. I'm gonna be checking anyway, so it don't really matter to me.
All
And
right,
that's all I
thank you.
said.
Thank you very much, Ms. Downer. One final thing on this is that, so that while people are checking the work, if we could also have posted for the full board meeting, the outline in the bid documents that says what the work is to be done. So I know it's, from my recollection, it's described a certain way, what's included, what's not included, what the expectation is. I mean, based on just landscaping, is it just mowing? Is it tree trimming? I mean, I think we have a separate contract sometimes for tree trimming, but is it shrubs? Is it, what's the expectation so we know what standard they're being held to and monitored on? Would be nice if that was added, and it should be easy because it was just part of the bid documents that they responded to. So thank you. Hearing nothing else on this, we'll move to 5.3, which is an award with Encore Fire Protection. Dr. White. I'm sorry, Mr. Pagan.
Okay, 5.3, Encore Fire Protection Sprinkler Repair and Services. This is for sprinkler inspection, testing, preventive maintenance, repairs, and emergency services throughout the calendar year.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to water contract under state contract with Creative Recreation Playground Inspection. Mr. Pagan?
This is for Creative Recreation for the inspection of playgrounds. This is necessary to get all the playgrounds inspected. This is not to do any repair work, but to have a professional person who's certified in park inspections to perform this work. We got this information from the city on an inspector that they use. That's why we're recommending to use them in coordination with them so they can identify slip, trips, and falling hazards and things that are not safe.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? My question is, and if I remember correctly, these playground inspections are a state requirement that these need to be done at a regular interval, just the reasons you stated, but it's in addition to a good idea and prudent, we're fulfilling a state requirement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. 5.5, water contract with Total Environmental Restoration Solutions. Mr. Pagan?
This is to perform remediation services. Last year, the remediation total was $339,000. Having this contract will allow us to respond more quickly to EHS while issues don't have to wait for a PO to get addressed. Situations like this are considered emergencies.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, thank you. You might have just answered this question. It's a basic question. I'm looking at the brief description of the services. This vendor can actually perform the remediation, not just give recommendations for what is done. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And have we used this vendor before? Because I didn't see a description for how they've done in the past. Okay.
Yes, you used them last year.
Okay.
They were your remediation company last year.
Okay. If it's not in the memo, I think we should include general feedback on how they did last year for the work.
Noted. Will do.
Thank you.
Ms. Downer?
President Yarbrough, are you referring to? I didn't see that it was a repeat also.
Yeah. Um,
And
I
maybe
don't think it says that.
questionnaire, I didn't see that.
It's not a repeat. What it is that you use them as your state contract service provider, and you were using them per job, and it came out to 339,000. So this year they felt it was more prudent to put together a budget for them to come in and not let things wait without a PO to do the work.
So hold on. Did they go out for bid if they're not a repeat? If that's the process, I mean, this is an enormous amount of money, 400 grand. I mean, I would say that we should have something in a memo that says, hey, it is a repeat because we used them last year. But it was last year it wasn't a multi-year contract?
Not to my understanding, no.
So did this go out to bid, or it just said they was the bid award?
This went out to bid.
Oh, it did go out to bid, and they were the lowest bid. Yeah.
They might have been the only bid, but they were the lowest bid.
Okay, so when he asks, were they going to do the remediation work? Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I can see that. I'm sorry, were you done, Ms. Downer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I could see where the confusion comes in because we've used them in some ways before, but not in this. So this is new, and it did go out to bid, and they were the lowest bidder, but there is experience with that. Is the will of the committee that because there is the information about if continuing, so this is question 13 on our standard memo. If a continuing service provide evaluation or archival data to demonstrate effectiveness. I mean, maybe a good way to do this would be to say, while this is a new bid, we have used them in the past, and some statement as to the quality of their work. That might have the memo.
Yeah, I go for that.
complete.
I get a little bit of deja vu when I think I've heard a name before,
Yeah.
but don't see information. So yes, that would be helpful.
So an update to question 13, it looks like, which would be a place to say that it's technically new, but we've used them before for this kind of work. So that's a way to, yes, Dr. Yarber?
Yeah, and from my standpoint, that helps um, it helps towards a recommendation for approval because they've done work before and we have appreciated the work they've done. So for me, that's adding support to this vendor versus the board thinking we're going in blind for this particular vendor.
All right. Thank you. I see Ms. DeMeo nodding.
It brings transparency. How about that? Yeah.
All right.
Agree.
Okay, thank you. So if that could be that added in some of this information added in there to characterize the quality of their previous work. And let's see here. So that's the end of the contracts. We're now into MOUs. So 6.1 an MOU with the board and health department. Ms. Derwin?
Yes, so this is MOU between the board using Head Start funds for reimbursement of a school nurse at the Dr. Reginald Mayo School. This will be year 2 that we have had this relationship. It's part of the equity and the cohesion and coherence model. It allows for uniform implementation of health policies across the district in every school. They also are interfacing with us in the enrollment process, and it gives the same standards of care for all students, just like if they were in the magnet schools or in another school in the district.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? My only question is this going to be, so it's variable based because there's a range listed depending on, I guess, the experience of the person
that they hire, correct?
hired or assigned to this. And my only question is this paid up front, or is this they just like a part of like a monthly payment goes over?
Yes, yes,
Okay. So it's a monthly payment at whatever in case there's changes in the person
exactly.
salary, just so it'll fluctuate.
And they do the hiring or the assignment of the person, and then, they bill us and the reimbursement is done based on their salary, their years of experience and, their contractual agreement within the Department of Public Health.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hearing nothing else on this one, we'll move to 6.2, MOU with the city, the board, First Student, and Bus Patrol America LLC. There's nobody listed on this as a presenter. Attorney Alexiadis?
Good afternoon. Thank you. I circulated a draft of this memorandum midday today, and I'm hoping that the committee members had a chance to see it and review it.
I did. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I did. It's a pretty brief one. And it does seem to spell things out. I have a couple additional questions, but
Okay, yeah. So as the committee members may recall, the city transportation, traffic, and parking department has been working first on an amendment of an additional city ordinance to allow stop arm camera enforcement on school buses. That city ordinance was passed, and it was based on an enabling statute and passed by the Connecticut State Legislature. And then the city has since selected Bus Patrol as the vendor, and is in the process of going to contract with Bus Patrol. And this memorandum basically will serve as an acknowledgement among all the parties, city, traffic, transportation, and parking, Board of Education, and the school district, Bus Patrol, the stop arm camera vendor, and First Student, the bus company, acknowledging that this program is underway and that the cameras will be installed on the school buses in accordance with the agreement between the city and Bus Patrol. First Student, the transportation provider, has a master service agreement with Bus Patrol pre-existing our relationship, and so it all fits together. This memorandum is pretty straightforward. It's not getting a whole lot, intentionally does not get into a whole lot of detail because it doesn't need to, and really just serves to document the relationship. Happy to answer any questions about this. The goal is to get this system up and running by or in October.
all right, thank you. Comments or questions? President Yarbrough?
Yes. Thank you, and thank you, Attorney Alexiadis. I was able to review the draft MOU, and it seems mostly good for me. I just had one question. In the last section, number 5, it says images captured by the monitoring system shall be confidential, except as provided by Connecticut statute, city ordinance, the city's agreement with Bus Patrol, and First Students master agreement with Bus Patrol. And so for me, it's not saying anything, or I don't know what those agreements say. And I would like for myself and the board to know kind of what we're agreeing to in terms of confidentiality and how the video will be used, or at least a clause to say, and maybe we don't have this right as a board or a district, but at least to say if there's a topic that comes up that's unrelated to bus safety, then the board can decide whether to release that. Or I just want to know like what we're participating in and how the cameras work.
So it's phrased that way as to not create new obligations and to rely on the existing obligations under existing law, right? Um, and so the underlying ordinance has limitations on the use of the data. Now, some of the video or some images from the video, more specifically, are going to go to the people that get the ticket. Now, that's intended only to be a photo of the license plate. Before the images are generated, the video system, as I understand, is going to capture a wide swath. But my understanding is that those are not kept, and there's also language in the statute and the ordinance about the vendor using its best efforts not to capture images of pedestrians, etc. We have concerns as a district about images of our students being shared because we are subject to FERPA, the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act, and so we don't. I mean, there's exceptions, but we generally do not disclose images of students unless it falls within a particular exception. So you want to know what's going to happen. What's going to happen to images, and the idea is that they're not going to have images of students. Okay? There's a limit about how much we can control that, which is why I've tried to bootstrap existing law. FOIA. That their images of students are exempt from disclosure under FOIA. The Freedom of Information Act, however, does not apply to private entities. There is some gray area in terms of private entities that are exercising a government function. It did not seem appropriate to me to include that level of detail in this kind of a memorandum, but that parties could cross that bridge when we come to it. We get requests for bus video all the time. If we have it and it doesn't, and it's apparent, doesn't show other students, if we've gotten it from the bus company, we disclose it. If it remains in the bus companies, and we'll only I think our staff only typically gets it if there's a reason. But if it remains in the custody of the bus company, it's essentially out of our hands. I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does. Yeah, I'll learn more, but that's helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my only comment is that I believe that any funds that are generated that come from the fines of people that are racing past buses when the stop sign is out and the lights are flashing and creating a very unsafe situation. I'm hoping that those fines are used, at least in part, to help New Haven schools. We spend a lot of money on the buses that these things are being attached to. It'd be nice to have a little bit of cost recovery for the district as well as what the city's doing. Understand it's all the same money in the end-ish, but hopefully that's a consideration in this.
I believe that the statute requires the funds be used for traffic safety. Speaking of traffic safety, in an informal, imprecise manner, I can get you the exact statutory language if you like. But this program is analogous to the red light camera program that is not yet operational.
Well, my recommendation to the district is to inquire periodically once this gets going, how much this is generating, just just useful information to know.
Yeah, and there will be periodic reporting to the alders, and I think it's entirely appropriate for the board to be copied with that.
as well as the general success of the model, how it's working. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
I mean, what we have what we've heard from other districts is that it's very successful. And then, both in terms of enforcement, in terms of revenue, and a lack of recidivism. Apparently, if you get tagged once, that's typically enough. But the goal is not, the goal is not revenue. The goal is public safety, and there's a hope that that this program puts puts itself out of business, so to speak. In other words, is effective enough that it reduces the incidence, and so that the revenue declines. That's the goal.
And that's a good goal. I agree.
I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, it's just anecdotal, but I see it almost, it seems like I see it almost every day with somebody blowing past a bus with the flashing lights on. It's horrifying.
Indeed. All right, hearing nothing else on this. The next is 7.1, which is part-time custodial. Just before we get started, as a recap, this is one we looked at. We're going to be awarding a different way. There were questions called on the process, so it went out to bid again on an expedited schedule. And now we're back here with a new company, which was the result of a request for proposal process, not a low bid process, but I think an RFP process. So, Dr. White?
Yes, this was a RFP process where bidders were put in proposals. Then we interviewed a short list of candidates, and with that came to the conclusion for Service Management Group to be the successor vendor for the part-time custodial contract through June of October of this year through June of next year. We made sure that procurement was with us throughout each stage of the process to make sure we were in line with all of the processes, and based on review of criteria, the materials provided, cost quotes, and this is who the team decided upon.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions? I have a couple. Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. White and team, for redoing the process and working with the city through the process also, and our vendors for reapplying or new vendors for applying. My question is, well, one, your memo timeline for transition. Thank you for providing that now. My question for the memo for the award, the year one amount, does that reflect transition time, or is that what the vendor's proposing the cost to be for year one?
So I don't have the document. Give me one moment to.
No problem.
This year one is the amount because this would be 9 months, and since we are using, we had to extend the current vendor through September 30th. So this would be for them starting. That's why it is on 9 months from October through June.
Okay, thank you. And does that amount reflect an agreement for, you said it's for what, September through?
October 1.
Okay, so the transition period is already built into they
The
were, yeah, go ahead.
expectation is that they start working day one, October 1. They're providing services in our schools.
Okay, And if there is a transition period, that is happening before.
That is work they would have to do in good faith as with expected started date of the first that they're working in our schools, yes.
Okay. And did we
Because
get,
the current
oh,
contractor is working in our schools till September 30th.
got it. Thank you. Those are all my questions for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Downer?
So, Dr. White, what happens after the June 30th of 2026? Are they going to need another contract to get us back started for the next year, or we just have to vote on this again? Because they did give you the amounts for each
Yeah,
year.
correct. It would be the same as exercising the option for the subsequent years.
So that means the cleanup, basically the summer cleanup, that would be different from this contract, right?
No, this would, because we had to start in October, because we had to go out to rebid, uh,
Okay.
the original bidder, if everything had stayed on course, we would have transitioned July 1. And because we had to go back out to rebid, we're now transitioned to conclude on, have this transition October 1st. So if we are going to exercise the options, it would be done early enough so that we are in contract, that they, assuming they'll continue to do a good job, they would be our contractor for year 2 and so on and forth while we can, of the contract.
So whatever happened with the talks between, well, nope. I take that back. This is contractual. I'm sorry. Nope. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if we ever thought about a plan. I know I've never heard it. I know that we've been talking about when, our former interim COO was here, Mr. Carter. We were talking about
This is that runway to see what is possible. And at subsequent meetings, it would be presenting what is possible for bringing, what pieces of the work can come back in, and what the cost analysis of both of these would be.
I mean, is that your focus this year to take a look at that? Or are we just going to talk about it next year? Like,
No,
I just need to know what's the focus. Like, if that's going to be there, then I'll just be
that's
quiet right now. But if
that
that's the focus to try
that
to,
is. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the focus will be to try to alleviate some of this privatization.
Well,
It's killing us. And I don't know if that's just we just talking, you know, and if that's not going to happen, then we probably should say that too. But if that's what the plan is, then next year are we looking to, have some type of plan to dial some of this back and bring in our own people.
Well, that's a point of putting together that plan to see what could be done as a hybrid and what would it take to, at some point, come to fully in-house. But again, all of that has to be mapped out with a price for it and what we as a district can afford.
Okay, because I mean, I see us paying for medical and everything else for these folks. I wonder if that's what we would pay if we had a full employee. So we're paying for all of this, and providing them vehicles. So they don't have really no overhead. They built it all into what the 4.5 million or whatever the first million, the 1.5 came off of it. But I mean, it's right here. I mean, we have our documented proof of what we would pay our people. I mean, I don't know how much we need when you know what you pay your people. So I don't know. I honestly think we need to dial some of this back. So I don't know. I'll just watch, but I just wonder if next year we're gonna have the same conversation of trying to push the second year and not have that talk. I'll be here, so I'll be remembering. Trust me. I'm gonna let it go, but I'm gonna remember next year. I'm gonna be looking for that. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would also appreciate if the district is recommending that we move forward with the optional year 2, that there's some evidence that alternative plans were looked at and that there was some cost information. I know when we heard from Mr. Carter, there was only preliminary cost information. The cost seemed pretty high, but I think it needs to have more detail. And I would also recommend talking to the whatever union this would be part of, just involve district employees in the plan of various kinds to make sure that it's a plan that'll work for the district and is taking in a lot of input. So. All right. Next, hearing nothing else on this, next on the agenda is. Okay, we have 4 resolutions that are related. So we can talk about them individually or separate. Let's start talk about individually or as a group. Let's start as a group. Ms. Bourne, I think, are you speaking on these?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. I
And
would
Mr.
like to talk.
Yep.
Sorry, I think yes. I think Dr. White also has something to contribute. I don't know if it was for something prior.
Oh, no, I was going to direct Mr.
Oh,
Wilcox that Ms. Bourne was here to speak.
okay. All right. So sorry for my interruption. Thank you.
Thank you,
Ms.
President
Bourne.
Yarbrough. Appreciate it. So I'll speak to the 4. The district, the school board, the school district, and the city has been working diligently to close out some old school construction projects. Over the last 2 years, we have closed out 6. These are the next 4 in the process. So the process is that the school is built, and then when the project is done, we go for this 1049 form that's before you tonight. Once you approve the submission of the 1049 form and the fact that you approve the project is complete, that then goes to the state, and that then an audit is done. Once the audit is done, there's a 5% holdback that then there are potential funds that might come back to the city. These projects, some of them started as early as 2002. These are a little bit more recent, but more like 2014, 2016. And these are the next groups that need to have the 1049 form and the project deemed complete. The first one is central registration, which was work that was done at the Board of Ed offices. The next one is New Haven Academy. The third one is Satellite Kitchen, which was a offshoot of Betsy Ross and centralized kitchen repairs, and then Strong Obama. I have 3 more that'll come to you in the next month. One thing I do want to apologize for is I missed the submission that was put before you tonight that just has the "be it resolved" clause. There is more language that needs to be included that I did provide. I can read into the record that wording if you like, or we can ask for a word change to go to the board at next week's meeting. Those words are required by the state that allow us to file the 1049 form and for you to acknowledge that you are approving the 1049 form and approving the project as complete. So your pleasure on whether I read
If you could read us that language, and when I make the motion, you will be noting that it'll have the insertion of this language that's required. And then it'll just have to request that you confirm the exact wording for the full board agenda with Ms. DeMayo.
Okay, Mr. Chair. So the wording is the filing of form SCG 049F, final grant application for a school building project with the State Department of Administrative Services, Office of Grants Administration for the Central Registration Project, and adopting the following resolution accepting the project as complete. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the Central Registration Project, State Project 093-0366 as complete. That's the official wording for the Central Registration Project. Exact same wording, replacing the project name and project number for the next 3.
Okay. Thank you. And then if I could have a recommendation, do these need to be moved separately at the full board meeting? Tonight we'll move them as a group, but the board vote on Monday is going to be the binding one, and I'll just need a recommendation if they can be moved as a group or if they, with that language that's there, my typical motion is that we approve these as listed on our agenda, and then they show up in the agenda as separate, in the minutes as separate items, spelled out exactly what they are. But if it, sometimes for these things, the hoop we have to jump through must be a separate motion, and they might review it. I'll just need a recommendation on that for them.
It needs a separate motion, I'm sure of that.
Okay, so I'll move each item individually at the board meeting, which is where the actual approval will be. Our approval tonight is just send it to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, just want to make sure that's sufficient. I don't want to mess
No, I
it up.
appreciate that.
Any comments or questions on this? President Yarbrough.
Yes, just clarifying. So these are definitely, so one, does close mean we can no longer go back and ask for something to be finished or done correctly, or like what does close mean in this scenario? And the second question is, are these projects truly done? And we should have closed these out a long time ago, but it's appropriate to close them out now.
So to answer your first question, no, you may not go back to do any additional repairs on this grant award. And the second question is, yes, that these should have been done prior. Gilbane managed some of these projects, and in 2021 left the boxes in our building without filing these papers, that then moves the project to completion in the state's eyes and potentially gives the city back some of the money that they're withholding. So there's a financial gain to the city on this as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So noting that the motion, I mean, the wording is going to have the extra specific language that Ms. Bourne had just relayed to us for each of these 4 items. And also noting on 3.7 that the agreement is not with Latoya Robinson doing business as LTR Unlimited Corp., but we are saying it's agreement with LTR Unlimited Corp. So noting those 2 changes, I move we send to the full board these 11 agreements, 2 purchase orders, 5 contracts, 2 memorandum of understandings, the part-time custodial agreements, and these 4 resolutions regarding finalizing construction projects.
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. President Yarbrough?
Yes.
Ms. Downer?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. The motion carries. So we'll move on. The next is preliminary June 30, 2025 budget report. Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, my apologies. I'm trying to, do you see a document that I've just shared?
I see a document that's showing the preliminary general fund report slide. So it looks
Okay,
like
perfect. Okay.
mid-presentation, but I see it.
Sounds good. Let me put it here. Okay, awesome. So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to present this preliminary financial report through June 30th of 2025. Again, I'm going to reemphasize this is a preliminary report. All the information that I'll be sharing during this evening is preliminary, and I will explain what are some of the potential changes that may happen in the next few days as we continue to close the year. We still have, a few more days, even into next week, to still capture some of the cost or revenue for through June 30th before we actually officially close the year. So we're still working on that. But I'll explain a little bit more about that as you see some of the figures that I will be presenting. As every other presentation, we always show the strategic operating plan for 2024-2029. This is our foundational basis to all the decision making that we have. What's included in here, it's going to be the preliminary monthly financial report through June 30th for the general funds and also the special funds, and you're going to see those 2 separated. I'll start with the general funds in a few minutes, and then I'll move on to the special fund side of it. Then we have during the preliminary expenditures through June 30th, right now they sit at $306.8 million. That is again preliminaries, as some cost that you will see later on another slide are still pending, still outstanding. So that number may go up. It actually could go down as well. Out of that $306.8 million, $210.6 million are part of the general funds, and then 96.2 million are special funds. So when you add up those two, that's where you get the 306.8. And here is the actual general fund. So again, we're going to talk about these $210.6 million you see there. That's what you're going to see on this coming up slide that speaks about the general fund. Again, this is normally a slide that we always have here that explains how to read this financial report that you're going to see next. And here, if you focus and then you look at the column that looks like the first column on the left side, on the bottom, that's where you see the $208.2 million that I spoke about just on the previous slide. 4 columns down, the one that says available. At the bottom, and this is where the important information is. At the bottom, you see 8,079,742. In the Muni system as of today, that is the number, that is the amount of the bottom line as of today. It's a deficit of $8 million. However, before, when I don't want to create any chaos, I'm going to take you down to show you how that $8 million is only in the system. But after we enter the revenue and after we do some of the other reallocations, we're going to take you guys to the 2.4 that you see on the last column. You see that $2 million, 398 here at the bottom. That is the projected deficit at the end of the year. And I will go over the detail of how we come from this number to this number, and then potentially other changes happening after we get to this number. So I just want to show you the full high-level picture here. $8 million. We recognize some revenue that's still pending. Then we get the $2.4 million. This number minus this number equals this number. And here's the explanation of this. And this is probably the most important slide when it comes to general funds. You have $8 million deficit in the system right now. At the end of the year, which is in the next few days, we will be working in conjunction with the city to recognize $1.5 million of municipal aid from the state of Connecticut. We're also going to be working with them to recognize $3 million. Now, this $3 million city contribution towards the deficit, this is the one that was approved by the alders back in between October and November of 2024. So this is not any new funding that has been recently, discussed. This is the $3 million that was already approved back in between October and November of 2024. That can only be used at the end of the year. And now we're at the end of the year, and now we are in this, we're putting this request into the city. Then there's another almost $1.2 million outstanding special education tuition. And this is just out of district special education tuition that's owed to New Haven. So when you add up all these 3 revenue assumptions, you get the amount that you see. Again, I'm going to go back so that way you could tie everything back to the financials. It add up to the $5,680,000 that you see here. So with this revenue already recognized, it gets you to the adjusted year-end deficit of $2.4 million. Now, what happens after this $2.4 million? That is not going to be the final number. That is the number that we're projecting today as very likely. What this does not include, these 4 expenses that you see here, that I will go over each of them, these 4 expenses are not included in this figure. These expenses were already part of expenses that were already committed, included on the financial, but there is a high possibility that these amounts may come back to the district. Some utility charges are working with the city on some reallocation of some utility charges. Utility PO reduction, again, working with the city. Tesla, another utility expense, working with the city on that as well. and then 29,000 for the auditor that we share with the city. Again, waiting for the final invoices, but it's very likely that if not all, most of these amounts will come back to the Board of Ed as a credit. If they come back as a credit, so these are expenses that were already committed. If they come back as a credit, this deficit of $2.4 million will go down to 1.4. And you see the math here, 2.3, expenses are credited back. Then we could go back down as low as $1.4 million deficit. Now, what could happen after that? After that, there's also some outstanding costs that we are keeping an eye on. And we are, having discussion with some special education tuition costs that have been billed to New Haven, some contractual services, and then some transportation costs that we are still outstanding, that we're still pending to make those payments. We're waiting either for final invoices or we're disputing some of the charges. There's no tell right now exactly when these charges will actually be charged. We have taken the initiative to separate some of this funding into a balance sheet account. So that way, if the expenses do not happen in the next few days before we close the year, at least we have already put it on a balance sheet account. So then we could make the payment in the new year, but without affecting the new year. So that's why the money will be put on a balance sheet account. So we're still waiting and hopeful that we could just pay this right now, but it's likely, as we only have a few more days before we close the year, that we may have to pay this in the new year. And that's why we had already moved some of this funding into a balance sheet account. So this is the picture of the general fund. Again, these numbers can go up and down at any given time, especially because there is no certainty about how much of this outstanding special education funding revenue we're going to receive, but there's also no tell on exactly these amounts, how much of this will be credited back. So this number can go up or down accordingly. But this is just a projection. The plan is that on the second F&O in September, and it escapes me the day right now, on the second F&O in September, which I believe it would be on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, or the 29th, and the 29th. On September 29th, we are going to provide a final year-end results after we had already settled some of these outstanding items. Budget mitigation strategy. So if you recall, every month since January, February, March, the previous CFO was reporting her projection of what the deficit was projected to be at the end of June. If you recall, in February, it was somewhere in between $4 and $5 million. Then after that, it went down to 3.5, and now we are at 2.4 with the potential of even going down as low as 1.4. It was important for us to go back now in time and review what improvements we made during the year that allowed us to reduce that deficit, because it's important now for me to also learn from good practices that we've done in the past, in addition to new practices that we may implement moving forward, so we could continue to improve. So these are some of the things that happened in this last year that helped us mitigate the deficit as much as possible. The district improved the hiring practices by implementing a better vetting process and by not filling some vacant positions in central office. There was a greater indirect cost recognition through interdistrict funding. There was an increased ability to allocate more new staff into the Alliance grant per the established guidelines. There was also a reduction in contract costs by consolidating individual school level contracts in exchange for better pricing. Special education staffing providing services to our students at out of district programming, yielding savings in cost. Reduction in part-time staffing by focusing only on those that provide student-facing services. There was a decrease in unemployment cost. And with the city support, we worked with utility companies to eliminate fees not related to actual usage. So these are some of the items or actionable items that happened during this last year that helped us create some savings and mitigate that deficit as much as possible. Now here's the preliminary financial for the special funds. So again, remember that on the beginning, I said that there was a 96.8, I believe, million dollars in special funds. So this will be the explanation of that particular special fund. So there was a year-to-date actuals of $96.2 million of special funds with an $11 million potential carryover. This is the breakdown of the $107 million that were available, out of which 96 were committed. So this is the breakdown by title. Again, it's important for us to also note that here at the bottom, you see the ESSER funding, the ARPA ESSER funding. You can see how for this year, there was essentially basically no funding with the exception of a little bit of carryover that was allowed to be had, but there was pretty much no ESSER funding this year, which obviously was make a huge dent in our budget for this past year and moving forward for future years as well. So there was a big dip in funding because of ESSER, but here you can see the breakdown line item by line item. This is just informational, showing you exactly how the grants paid for different areas. Obviously most of it went to full-time salaries, but there's other chunks of the grant funding that went to transportation and to part-time salaries and to employee benefits and such. So here's just a little bit of a pie chart that you can see the breakdown of the expenses. And now that's the end of the presentation. I know I went quick. I just wanted to kind of give you the highlights, and then now I'll open up the floor for questions, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I have a comment.
Please.
Yeah, just thank you very much for the walk. It was clear for me to see where we are and currently what our deficit is, and then if some other revenue sources come where our deficit would be, and also the walk through the special funds. So thank you for walking through that. My one question, I guess I do have a question. My one question is, you gave the deadline of this second F&O meeting in September to be the time where the final date will be given. What makes that date the one we're looking at? Are there certain resolutions that'll happen by that time, or that's the latest we can wait?
Well, the one of the reasons is that we have to wait for the and Christina, I know you're here. Can you remind me the name? EFP, the report that we do on September 1st to the state?
EFS report.
So the EFS report. There you go. So we're going to wait for that report to be submitted at the beginning of September, and then received feedback and approval from the state before then we solidify the final numbers for the year. That's just part of regular normal practice to wait for that report to be done and be certified by the state before I present publicly the final numbers. It is likely that by the first meeting of the F&O in September, I may have a really good idea of where we are. If by then everything has been settled, even with the state, I would not have any issues, on at least presenting an update, a high level update. But I feel more comfortable at least committing to the second meeting in September, just to allow for more time for these report to be done and be certified by the state.
Got it. Thank you.
I'll just add, I appreciate the information about how we got to all the mitigation things. It's a good reminder. We were starting the year with millions and millions more in deficit projected, and I know that there was a huge amount of work done by the district, which you outlined briefly there. And I'll just note that a lot of that work means that there were less people in our buildings, less people in some of the classrooms. There less work being done on the buildings and trying to cut all these costs, and I know that there was a huge amount of effort done on that, and it's clear that that's the case. It's unfortunate we weren't able to, at least we're projected to not be in balance this year, but we started with such a deficit. And we told everybody this is where things were going in terms of that it was going to be extremely challenging to mitigate that deficit. So I appreciate the work the district put into that, and bodes well for this year, which also has extreme challenges that we're facing. So thank you for that and for this report.
Thank you.
Yeah, hearing nothing else on this, I think the next item is a transportation update. Ms. Coleman?
Good evening. Just going to Mr. Hernandez based on what I have. The second meeting of F&O is September 15th. I'm not sure if that's the correct date, but that's what was on our list. I just want to thank everyone for giving that information following his report. As you can see, transportation always seems to manage to be in the red, something I'm not used to. Still getting used to it, still trying to get it down as we go. That's been one of my major goals, is to consolidate and to look at what we're doing. One of the requests was an update for bus pass distribution. We did receive a grant last year. There have been several meetings. Dr. White and I have had meetings. I see we're also in the paper. There's a activist committee, a youth committee looking at climate and change and wondering where our cards were used. Just as information, we distributed 7,928 10 ride cards this past season. We distributed 10,783 2-hour cards. These go to our high school students predominantly. Sound School does not have transportation at all other than out of district. Some vans, they do that based through their own towns. Our high school students utilize these for after-school programming, staying if they need help after school. Most of the schools have to have all kinds of after-school programs. It's used for some of our pathway programs. Miss Natalino in her department, the multilingual department had an after-school program in a couple of the schools. Gateway to College for some of the students. Our supervisor of curriculum for world languages had some after-school programming, so they have to sign them out and give us all of those things. The Youth and Family Engagement Office has used them. Museum, there's some Peabody Museum programming. So there are various programs that do use these, and we appreciate it. We purchased 13,259 cards. We distributed 18,711 for the school year. For the summer programmings, we also used 1,750. We do not provide high school transportation for summer school. Most of the students get there on their own. However, there are some that utilize cards to get to jobs after school, in the midday as needed. Parents do the transportation one way. We have currently an inventory of 9,000 cards on hand that will get us started. Dr. White and I will be dealing with the network, doing distribution. But I think we've done a really good job of utilizing what we've been given. One of the things that came up, Dr. White, you will attest to this, that came up into the meeting. There's a young lady, I guess she was at the last board meeting, from Hartford. Hartford did 31-day passes. They are much more expensive to purchase. I think we do better on our bang for buck for our 10 ride cards and 2-hour cards. Most of the students at Sound School do get the 10 ride cards. It's a greater responsibility for them, but they utilize them. They turn them in to some of the larger schools. It's the guidance secretary that does it, or the secretaries in the office, but they do have to sign out for them. I don't think we plan on doing anything different. For next year, it works. We keep a running record in our office. They keep a running record of students that have signed them out within their office. Are there any questions on that distribution? Right now, we do not have, we're still waiting for information on whether or not the state is going to do another 175,000 this year. We have put bus cards in our budget based on the transportation budget, but it's always nice if we can get that money because then we can put it toward the red in transportation. Mr. Wilcox, you have any questions?
I think I think you anticipated and answered all my questions related to the.
I try.
Yeah, well, you're good. So, yeah, I think you've answered that. And it sounds like, in your opinion, does each school do the students know how to get these cards? How do people know how they can access these cards? Since in some cases it sounds like a principal or an AP, in some cases a guidance counselor or a coordinator.
Most of them know from just from the general orientation that the principals give. Some of it has to do with just the programming, the after school programming of those directors. Is that correct, Dr. White? You have
Yes, as programming gets announced, one of the points that's brought up is we'll provide cards so you can get home. So obviously that's often a concern. How am I going to get back home? So this is, as things come up, it's announced, or if student wants to stay after to work on something, again, it's widely known you could get a bus pass. And the biggest is making sure you ask for it at the end of the school day, not necessarily try looking for it at 4 o'clock when an administrator may be gone or the secretary is gone. But again, we try to give as much information as possible about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. My only other request would be is you rattled off a lot of numbers that I think would be of interest to the student climate group and maybe to members of the public and the board. If there could be a memo added to the meeting materials for this meeting, and then which also get added to the full board meeting, just to kind of outline that so everybody knows that there are thousands of these that are going out.
Right. I can do that by totals. That's fine.
Mr. Wilcox?
Yes, Dr. Yarbrough.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Coleman. I agree. I think the information is very useful. And if there's a way to also include the amount that has been invested in total. So I think you gave like the number of cards that have been given out, but also what that financial amount is. I think that would be of interest to the board and public as well.
Right. I can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there more you had on transportation?
Well, you had on here update on the electric bus grant. There's not much to update there. We do know that First Student signed a partnership, a rebate electric utility partnership template in October. Most of that was being handled by Mr. Carter. I have asked for updates from the young man at First Student. I still have not heard back from him. His name is Mr. Matthews. I'm also trying to get some answers from them. One of the biggest issues for First Student in particular would be the infrastructure for how we would plug the buses in that area. I'm not sure if the board is familiar with the fact that First Student does not own the land they're on. They do rent those spaces, but they'd also have to find a way to, how do we electrify areas, and where do you put that within that space? So those are all in progress. The idea is to request for the application the number of buses that they're looking at is 50, which is in alignment with the contract that they've signed so far, as to at least investigate that. We also know that the political climate is not pushing as much as it did, so there are some stalling areas in the push for electric buses. They do no longer have any propane equipment. And the biggest thing I think you would be happy to know is that right now we have drivers assigned and available for all of the runs that are ready. So we should be ready to start on the 28th with no issues. And some of the charter schools actually start on the 25th.
Awesome. I know some of us have been around when there were issues, and so it's good to hear.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
All right. Any other comments or questions on transportation issues?
Yes. Ms. Coleman, that's great news that we have the drivers ready for the school year. That's exciting. That's great. And I imagine
And
it's less of a
equipment.
scramble and equipment.
Yes.
So that's a plus. For the electric bus piece, has First Student, to your knowledge, been awarded anything from what they put in from even, I think, before we bid?
That's the information I don't have. That's what I'm still waiting for. I actually put in a call while I was sitting here. The gentleman is not answering, and we've been trying to make sure we got startup ready. So now is the time to pressure them again. I will get back to you with more information. But
Okay,
we've
thank you.
tried to.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I mean, it was, well, it was an important topic to
It still
me
is.
to bring up. And I think that was part of their bargaining, saying that, oh, they could offer us some electrification. And there was also a decision point that the board and city had to make in terms of whether we're going to go after, whether we're going to apply for the resources ourselves, or we're going to apply through a bus company to do it. And we chose to go through a bus company to do it. And I would argue that First Student knew that they rented the land where the buses were at the time, because so
that's true. They did.
Yes. So some type of information for that would be helpful, at least to give us guidance on the next time we need to put out a bus contract, how we want to approach it. And there may not be resource for electrification. If that is the case, I think we need to know. I think there was a state mandate for what needed to be done for our fleet. Maybe we need to get clarification from the state in terms of their expectations.
I will look into that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Hearing nothing else, thank you, Ms. Coleman. Next item is, are there any upcoming financial issues that you'd like to give the board a heads up about? Anybody? Hearing none. The next item, is there any updates on policy 3520.13 data sharing policy? Hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Are we motioning to adjourn?
I'm asking, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes. So moved.
Is there a second? I will second it. We will vote. Dr. Yarbrough?
Yes.
Ms. Downer?
I'm stuck.
Ms. Downer?
I'm buffering. Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Thank you all.
Good evening.